Right. And tonight's subject we have chosen for our wisdom is the spiritual light tower. And many of us, as we've been doing little wisdom, and we want to know what all this is about, is 7, 9, 11 are spiritual numbers. So let's say, for example, this tower is of 11 floors. And what is the tower about? It is a worship of self, the light within. So we've all seen the tower in our life, what it is, what it represents. There is light at the top, which is ever there. So what are we going to understand in this analogy is, like, say, for example, when people want to live in an apartment block, why they want to pay more to move on the top floors. And why do they want to move on the top floors? Yes, for amazing view. So you have to pay a bit more. So in my time in Amsterdam, whilst I was flat hunting, I realized what a beauty it was to go on higher floors, and the glass had such a, you know, effect on me, like my viewing and how I saw everything around. It was like a 360 view from the top floors. So suddenly that kind of came into my mind that yes, the higher we go, the view is much better, and it is such a beautiful space. And of course, you have to pay a bit more. So it is a priceless view. So now imagine you are on a lower floor. That is where we are starting. We are on the lower floor. Now, when you are on the lower floor, this is like a spiritual floor to floor, going, rising upwards. So when you are on the lower floor, uh, your what you see, your view is limited, I would say. It is unclear and entangled and noisy. And what do I mean by noisy? The noise is hopelessness, frightening, miserable, tragic, disappointment, struggles. All that is within us when we are on that lower energy vibration. So the lower flows is what it's about. Your, where you are in your floor. So there is just hopelessness and confinement, and it is caged. So in that moment, you realize, what if I go on the higher floor? So that thought comes, and you say, what if I go on higher floor? So it is about change. It's about a change in yourself. So when you go on the higher floor, you are going to be adventurous, to peel whatever was unpleasant. So all about that personhood, that is just making you feel that way. So the adventure begins to go on the higher floor. And now, when does the adventure begin? Is when the boredom sets in as well, with all this going on, same old, and you think, I've had enough. Now I need to go on the higher floor. So the adventure has to set in to move up. And when you move up, that's when you slowly begin to see that why those problems were there. And it makes sense, it gives you clarity. And the new view is now helping to solve those problems. Isn't that magnificent? To solve the problems. So you're not just faced with it all the time. You know how to do it. So it's that learning that's happening. And there is that yearn to know more as well, to solve that problem. And why are we doing this? Because we are looking for a change for the better. So there's harmony there, there's hope there, there's satisfaction there, there is less stress there, there's less demand of want, and there's less pain, of course, less sorrow, and overall feeling of well-being is there. So it feels really good. So this kind of led to my experience, say, when you go for eye checkup, for eye examination. And when you sit in that chair, what is going on in that chair is there's full of wisdom there, which like Ashtavaka, was when teaching King Janaka um, the wisdom. And Janaka, when he realized, he went, aho! So, of course, when I was sitting in that ophthalmist, was putting my metal goggles on to put the glasses on to make me see across the wall, which was not moving. It was just there. And all I had to do was to read. But she was changing, so that I could see better. And I went, aho, so this is what the floor is about. So if my view gets better and better, then I can see things in a different light. Of course, it's the same sort of scene, but I will be seeing different things, in a better way. So uh, this is all it's about, the clarity and how the lens can bring the clarity in me. But the board is the same, but the viewing and seeing is changing. So everything falls into perception now, and you think, wow, now what could be hidden? What could be hidden behind this eye that I must know? So you can only know when you have the wisdom to go ahead and to experience it. So wisdom is not about just learning, cramming. I get many people who sort of say, oh, I know that mantra well, and I know this well, and that know well. And I kind of say, what is the point of knowing all that when you are not practicing? And if it's not practiced, then it is not happening. So the deep exploring must begin. And the deep exploring begins when you decide to step out of that bubble, the bubble that you have been in for so long, and it is not doing anything for you. You are just on that same first, second, third floor. You are not moving up. And something that is in you which is so close to you, and you want to meet that. And how can you meet that if you're just stuck in that same place? You cannot. You have to be adventurous. You have to explore, and that is the living truth. You must be the living truth to experience, and then it will come. So what it is about is the higher floors you go, you find that there's deep sense of awareness, and the, you awaken, something touches you. And that energy is so beautiful and pure. As you go up, you find that so many things which are not in line with it falls away from your scene, and all that noise falls away. So as you rise on those blocks, on those floors, the noises of the first floor, second floor, and third floor is falling away from you, and you are going higher and higher. So you are attracted by that beautiful pure energy, and it is pulling you upwards. And the highest floor, as I say, is the penthouse, where the light is, where the view is 360 degrees. There's stillness, there's fresh, it's quiet, it's pure, and non-restricting space. And this 11th floor of supreme consciousness, I would say, is a wonderful world of light, perfection, bliss, completeness, grace unfolding, miracles, and it's a new life. So a really good example of this was my experience in Dwarka. So I tracked for many years alone through India. And when I checked into the hotel, and I said, oh, tomorrow morning I want to go for the prayers at about 8, 9 o'clock after breakfast. The person on reception said to me, Madam, if I were you, knowing that you are a yogi, I think you should go for a very early morning prayers, arti. And I said to myself, okay, I shall take that on board. So listening is so important. If you want to go on higher flows, you must be absolutely tuned in the now, and you must be able to listen to what someone is saying. And when you listen and you bring it in, everything falls right. So, of course, I said to the driver that, would you mind dropping me at about, 5:30, quarter to 6, the latest? And he said, okay, madam, I won't have shower and all that, otherwise there'll be a delay. So I will drop you. So I realized as I step out of the hotel, the first thing I see is crescent moon up in the sky. So that's beautiful smile already before I even started. And then I go into the car, and as soon as I reach the temple and I open the door, and there's this magnificent white cow literally crossing me. There was nothing else but this white cow crossing me. So that was another blessing I'm observing. And it was just flowing. Everything was just miraculously flowing. So I go further in, and there was checkup, of course, security check and all that, all finished. And as I enter the temple grounds, the arti starts. Now, how beautiful was that? So, who was behind all this? Everything was so well timed, and the aarti starts. And when the aarti finished at about 7 o'clock, there were so many steps to go down to the three rivers where the sangam happened. And they said to me that it'd be nice, madam, if you immersed in it. So someone said to me as I was going down, and I said, fine, I shall immerse in it. So as I head to the banks and I stand there, some guy gave me these food pallets, which I bought for the fish, and I'm feeding the fish. And I was so caught into that feeding that I completely forgot about the time that I have to go in. And suddenly some voice just stopped me and said, it's time you go in the water. So of course I'm listening to myself. And as I stepped into the water, my head literally turned to the left, and I saw the sun started rising as I stepped into the water. And I just was in wow at that time. I thought, whatever this inner voice is telling me is nothing but God. And what a beautiful, synchronicity there was at that time, starting from the crescent moon to the sun rising. And I just had to bow and bow, say thank you to everything that made it happen. So moments later, when I came out, a crowd of tourists, came down. All the local people came down, and they were throwing themselves in the water. And I looked at them and I thought, oh my God, you are just a moment late. So see how perfectly perfect that whole alignment was. So what I'm trying to say is, when you go on higher flows, you are so aligned and tuned with nature that this is the sort of thing you will keep experiencing, and you will just live in that, wow, that's it. And that is what new life is. It is not about just living and decorating your room and doing this and doing that and buying material objects and that. You have to really understand that your alignment really brings you to see the real nature of life. And so I would say that the 11th floor, that was an 11th floor experience for me, which is the supreme consciousness and the wonderful world, I would say, of light, freedom, bliss, completeness, grace, unfolding beyond beyond my imagination, the miracles. And it was just that beautiful new life that I was having glimpse of. and I absolutely loved it. So you know the way to knew that now, and what will lead you to your penthouse, and that light house, spreading the light of one truth, may it inspire others in your life to follow, so that they too can experience the spiritual light of the tower. So it is so permanent. Once you come to this, it is so permanent. Nothing is going to shake you, because you become just a living awareness, pure awareness. And also, the relationships that happen at this stage are not at a physical level, they are at soul level. You are not chasing anymore. Whoever comes, in your path is equally like, higher spirit, because that is the vibration you are sending out. And this bonding is at spirit level, which is very deep connection. It is not one where one celebrates just at physical level. It is much deeper than that. So I would say a warrior of light shares with others what he knows of the path, and see your whole life as a light tower, and know that the noise and all the ups and downs are on the lower floor of your personhood. And as you rise, you become more present and more in the now, in the synchronicity. And the top floor is just nothing but absolute grace and glory of one Brahma, the pure awareness, God. So thank you for tonight. Namaste.